Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead Daryl Dixon video. So in this one here, I want to break down the general trailer for The Walking Dead, I guess Daryl Dixon, and this trailer, I mean, it looks absolutely incredible. Like, I just have to say, I was not expecting the ending to this episode, honestly. Like, I was watching the episode and I really liked episode 1. I was like, you know what, this is a really great tone here for the show. I just found myself very excited overall about the show, and then the ending scene happens with Madame Janae, and then we get the trailer at the end, and it featured so much stuff in there that I was like, man, they really know how to hype up this season. Like, they gave us so much information on this show that it really does raise the question of, and I'll have to do a video on this. Honestly, I'm going to have to talk about Dead City Season 2, because I really feel like for Dead City Season 2, they got to sort of up the stakes a little bit and make the story, I guess, more relevant, or I guess matter more is probably the better way to put it. Like, I think Dead City Season 2 needs to matter more to the general story of the Walking Dead universe, because Daryl Dixon seems to really matter. Like, honestly, even more so than anything that we got during the Walking Dead season 11. Like, it's actually kind of crazy. The story that's happening on Daryl Dixon right now is way more connected and actually seems to matter so much more than anything at the Commonwealth and anything with the Whisperers, and is very connected, it seems like, to the Civic Republic and Rick Grimes' story. Like it seems like it's its own thing in a way, because obviously it is separate from the CRM, but it's overall the same general story, right? So it's very exciting. So let's talk about the trailer here. So before we go any further, obviously make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. So I will be posting a Rick and Michonne teaser video very soon, if they do release a teaser. There's apparently a rumor that there's actually going to be a teaser dropping at some point later, but we're just going to have to wait and see if that actually does happen. So if there is one later on tonight, I will post a teaser video on that, and I will actually break down the entire thing, but we're just going to have to wait and see on that. I did post a review. If you haven't checked it out yet, I posted a review on episode 1. I also did an ending explained video explaining the cliffhanger scene at the very end of episode 1. So all of that's on the channel. Tomorrow I'll focus on some other stuff with Carol and all of that. And yeah, there's so much to talk about. Out of nowhere, it's just like the Walking Dead universe exploded. So yeah, crazy premiere here. But let's talk about this trailer here. So the trailer starts off and we see Daryl praying, sort of thing. And we actually do get this scene here where there is like this like big dinner scene. And Daryl is kind of saying, you know, I'm sure you have your reasons for turning the whole world upside down, and if this isn't good enough for you, then, you know, I don't know what is. And we see Daryl with a new character named Lou. Isabel's also in the scene as well. And yeah, there's this big dinner that they're having here. And you got to wonder when this takes place. My prediction is this could be episode 2. There is a scene that happens pretty much right away where we do see Daryl encountering some different group. And, you know, that scene in general really threw me off. I didn't know what to expect from that scene. I was sort of unsure how it was related overall to the story. But when I'm looking at it overall, like, that group doesn't seem to have really any connection with anything else. Like, there's a scene where we see Daryl get captured, and that's basically it afterwards. So I'm thinking that Lou and this group here is in some way connected, and Daryl gets captured and whatever, and then this group basically in the end ends up being sort of good. And we see Lou, who, like I said, is a new character, and they're having this whole dinner scene here. So this all really reminds me so much of Dead City, because Dead City was sort of done in the same way, where we saw Maggie and Negan go to Manhattan, and then obviously they ran into a new group, they were captured, and then that group ended up being sort of, I guess, on their side in some way. I don't think this group is going to matter overall to the story, though, as much as that group did in Dead City. It seems like this group here really is just something that is going to sort of explore different parts of the story here a little bit more, and just give us some more character stuff. And I think in the end, Daryl, Isabel, Laurent, and Sylvie will probably walk away with that carriage, right? And then I think that's how they get the carriage, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm not entirely sure. I could be so wrong on that, but it kind of feels like it's related, but we'll have to wait and see. We do see a new character that goes by the name of Falou, I believe, and this group is a part of the Resistance Network. And this group is, I mean, we don't know a lot about the group, but obviously the leader here, Falou, does say, you hear that? It's Paris crying. And it's a really cool scene. I really wonder, just at this point in the story, what's happening. This kind of feels like it's episode 3 stuff. Like, I feel like a lot of this stuff is going to be the first 3 episodes, where we see them traveling quite a bit. And then the last 3 episodes, episodes 4, 5, and 6, we're going to see stuff with them in, obviously, at the Eiffel Tower. Episode 5, they're probably going to be very close to Paris at that point. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff. I know there's a flashback scene that is supposed to happen there. 6 apparently is the best episode of the season, and there's some really cool stuff. The ending scene apparently is really amazing, but we'll have to wait and see what that means. We do have this shot here of Lou, and there's like almost like this memorial they're having, and we see a lot of kids in the back. So I'm, like this place here, like whatever they're a part of, I don't know if this is just like a place where mostly kids are a part of. If, like the thing is, they're going to be explaining a lot of how France works right now. And we know that there is like this political movement that is led by Madame Genet, and she owns a lot of France, and she's basically the leader of most places in France. But there is this resistance network that is sort of there a little bit, and it's forming anyways. And obviously the Abbey is a part of that. We do have Falou and his group and whatever community is there, and they seem to be a part of it as well. Lou and whatever this is here, are they a part of it as well? We'll have to wait and see, but it seems like that's sort of what we're getting into here. And I think there's going to be some really cool stuff, honestly. And just in terms of character stuff, I think there's going to be a lot of really fun stuff, because there's a scene of Daryl here, and it looks like he's watching a movie. So if he's actually just kind of, hanging out here watching a movie, that's crazy to me. Like just kind of in general, like for Daryl just to be experiencing this right now. I know at the Commonwealth they do have stuff like that, so this isn't anything that crazy to him anymore. But it would just be kind of cool to see, and really does kind of show a lot of, how much the world has sort of advanced. And honestly, it's kind of insane. Like when you really look back to the, the very first seasons of The Walking Dead, they really avoided so much. Like it feels like the world has had a lot of this, like sort of technology or like certain power or whatever from the old world. And Rick in the group kind of avoided a lot of it for many, many years. It's kind of crazy. But then we get Quinn's introduction here, and he's supposed to be a pretty big character. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, he does say, "Strange to see you again after all these years." So he seems to have some sort of relationship, some sort of connection here with Isabel. We'll have to wait and see what all that means. But yeah, it seems like there's something there. And again, I remember when they first announced the casting, he sort of had a bigger role in the show overall. But it doesn't really feel like it. And also, I'm kind of wondering if he does die, because there's this shot right here. This walker kind of looks like him a little bit. So does he die? Is this actually that scene? Because Isabel seems to have a really hard time killing this walker. So I'm wondering if this is related. Daryl actually says in this trailer he's in Maine, and I literally just did a video on this. He says he's in Maine by the coast, and in the video I just did explaining the ending scene, I was sort of theorizing, I wonder if the ship left from Maine. And I didn't even hear the dialogue said here. Like I promise, I didn't hear the dialogue said at all in this trailer. So that pretty much confirms that there's a literal connection here. So this flashback scene with Daryl, I'm wondering, first of all, there's a scene here where he's like on this phone and he's kind of saying that like, we'll be there in a week or something like that. But he says he's in Maine by the coast. I wonder if he's talking to Carol here. I really do actually wonder if he is talking to Carol, because it kind of feels like it. It feels like, Carol is going to be alive in some way in this first season. I think it's going to be stuff where obviously we don't really hear Melissa McBride at all. Unless maybe there is some stuff, but I don't think they're going to really connect it too much here. But I think in the end they will, because there's just a part of me that believes that Carol was actually on this ship and she's actually over there in France right now, because otherwise the way Carol gets to France is via another ship, right? So it's possible, Isabel did say in episode 1 that there's ships that, go in and out of that port all the time. So maybe we'll have to wait and see. But I think it's possible that Carol was actually on this ship with Daryl. And I think it makes a lot of sense. But we do see Daryl here, and he is fighting this really aggressive walker, and it is like completely freaking out. It breaks out of this crate, goes after Daryl. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of the reviews said that, the way that they explained these walkers, it like when you watch the show, they're actually a lot more terrifying. When you watch the trailer, you sort of get what they mean, because this walker seems really, really insane. And then we have this crazy explosion here, and then we see Daryl jumping off the ship. And I'm a little confused because the walker is nowhere to be seen here, but in the trailer, we do see Daryl jump off of this, like we see sort of the shot before, and that walker is like there, sort of almost like climbing through the bars here. And so I'm kind of confused what happened, but obviously when we watch the full scene, we'll probably see what happened to that walker. But yeah, we see Daryl jumping off, really, really epic shot. And we do see Madame Genet giving this really crazy speech. And again, she's a part of this political movement in France that pretty much has all power over France. And there's a lot of this resistance network that is sort of forming, like with the Abbey and stuff. But in general, Madame Genet has full control, it seems like. And yeah, we see this shot here of this walker completely freaking out. And I was kind of shocked by this because this walker really is like super, super fast. I'm pretty sure this is pretty much all CGI just by the way it's moving, because it just doesn't seem like it's really that real. But yeah, obviously they're doing a lot of experiments and stuff like that. And I'm just really curious as to why and what they're setting up here. I mean, it seems like it's pretty obvious with the CRM and all of that, but it's just obviously we don't know yet. So it's one of those things where we have to kind of keep tuning in into each episode and just kind of see where they're going with it, right? Caudron does say that, I'll prove my usefulness to you kind of thing. And he says it to Madame Genet. And I'm actually wondering if he even knows who she is. I mean, he might know who she is, but maybe they're just kind of meeting for the first time, right? And maybe he's just meeting her because he has info on Daryl Dixon, right? And that's how he gets more recognition from her kind of thing. I think that would be really cool, a really cool origin story in general, and that would really build up Caudron as a character, because that means literally in the first episode here, he's just kind of really a random person. Like maybe he sort of has more forces here. He's more of like, I don't want to say a general, but he's kind of a leader in some sense. But because of his, interactions with Daryl, because he has information on Daryl Dixon and Madame Genet wants that, that's sort of how he gets more recognition from her and why he becomes a much bigger character overall in this series here. But yeah, and then we see some walkers break through the sandbags here, and this is near the Eiffel Tower. It seems like, it kind of looks like it. And yeah, Laurent is here, and obviously he's in danger right now. We do see a flashback scene, and it's of Isabelle holding a baby, and I'm pretty sure this is Laurent, because the early reviewers, a lot of them were mentioning that she, I believe, is his biological aunt. So I'm guessing because we never learned that yet in episode 1, that's going to be a reveal at some point this season, which really explains why she's so protective over him, right? So there's got to be some heartbreak here. There's got to be a lot of stuff here that I think is really like, I mean, she lost her sister in that sense, right? So there's some stuff here that I think is really, really going to be explored, and I think it's gonna really build Isabelle up as a character. So I'm really excited about all that. And yeah, just in general, this trailer looks really, really good. We do see Daryl. He's actually captured at some point by Caudron, and he's actually forced to fight this advanced walker. So at some point here, my prediction is this probably happens in episode 5. Like, I'm just trying to think. Does this happen in episode 2? No. Episode 3, that seems a little too soon. This could happen in episode 4, but episode 4, I believe, is titled something with the Eiffel Tower. I think Daryl and Laurent are there. So I don't know if there's going to be this whole thing that goes down there, but this seems like this could be an episode 5 thing. And so Daryl is obviously being forced to fight this advanced walker. We have Caudron who sort of yells like, "Today you will die," or whatever. And so he's, he has this audience here, and they're sort of talking to Daryl in whatever way. And Daryl is sort of forced to fight this advanced walker in front of this group of people. And I mean, he does say a line here that I found really, really cool, really reminded me of Morgan and his line, like, "I don't die" kind of thing. Daryl says, "I ain't gonna die in here," or whatever. He says it to Madame Genet. And yeah, we see this advanced walker. It's chained down. It's freaking out. And then at some point, it's actually let loose and runs towards Daryl. And yeah, I mean, Daryl's going to have to fight this walker. I don't think he has a weapon at all. So what happens here, right? I mean, obviously, Daryl is going to win, but it's one of those things where it's probably going to be a really crazy scene. I'm really curious as to where this is going to go. I mean, the advanced walker thing, like, I'm so happy that we're actually getting this, because there was a lot of concern, I know, from a lot of fans that we weren't getting this in Daryl Dixon. Like, even up to a week or two ago, it didn't seem like we were going to be getting advanced walkers at all. It seemed like the burners were probably the only type of walker, but that really is like just a small sort of variant that is out there and doesn't seem to be the main threat out there. It's just something they randomly introduced. But this advanced walker that we saw, that seems to be the same kind as the walker in the World Beyond post-credit scene, this is what we're excited about. Like, this is why people are so excited for this. So yeah, in general, this trailer looks really, really good. I'm so hyped for episode 2. I really can't wait to watch this episode. So post all your thoughts down below. Post your predictions for the season. And yeah, hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.